Alright guys, what's up? In this one, we're going to be going over how to create our updater class. So right click on update package, new interface, and type updatable, and then just finish. And we're only going to create one function in here, and it's going to be an update function. So public void update, and that's it for this class. Okay, so now we're going to create the actual updater class. So new class updater, and we're going to make 3 array list that are all private and static. So private static array list updatable, and we're going to call this list updatable objects equals new array list of updatables, parentheses, semicolon. And then we need to import this array list class, and then we're going to create another array list called add updatable objects. So add updatable objects equals new array list updatable, parentheses, semicolon. And then one more, remove updatable objects equals new array list, and again updatable, parentheses. So now we're actually going to create the update function. So it's going to be a public static void update, and we're just going to loop through each object in the updatable objects and call its corresponding update function. For updatable object in the updatable objects object.update. And so I guess at this point I'll explain why we have these 2 extra array lists. If we are looping through this updatable objects array list, then we can't add an object inside the update function because we're looping through that list. So what we have to do is we're going to add it to this temporary array list, and then we're going to add everything that's in the add updatable objects into the actual updatable objects. And the same thing with the remove updatable objects. We can't remove an item from the list that we're iterating through. So we have to create these temporary array lists to store what we need to add and remove from the actual array list. So right here we can just remove all of the items that we need to, and we do that by typing updatable objects dot remove all, and then we can type in our remove updatable objects, and then we can add all of our objects that we need to add by typing updatable objects dot add all, and then pass in add updatable objects. And then we're going to clear both of these array lists because remember, they're temporary. We don't need them anymore since now that the actual updatable objects is updated, we can clear both of these array lists. So we do that by typing add updatable objects dot clear, and then remove updatable objects dot clear. And now we just need to create some functions to add and remove from these 2 temporary array lists. So we type public static void add updatable objects, and we're going to pass in an updatable object, and then here we just type add updatable object dot add object. So now you can see that we're adding to this temporary array list, which then gets added to our actual updatable objects. And now we need to do the same thing but for the remove array list. So public static void remove updatable object, and we're going to pass in an updatable object, and then we can just add this object to the remove updatable objects. So remove updatable objects dot add object. Okay, and that's it for our updater class. So now we can go to the entry class and we can instantiate our updater here. So updater equals new updater, and then we need to import this. Now inside of our while loop, we just type updater.update. So now every single loop, we are calling this update function, which updates all of our objects. And then now we can go into our spaceship class and actually update the spaceship. So we need to implement updatable, and we have to import this, and then just add the unimplemented methods here. And I'm going to delete this comment. So before we do anything, let's create a variable called speed, which will be the speed of our spaceship. So private double speed. We're going to set it equal to 200. And then inside of our update function, we're going to get the input and move our spaceship. So if input.keys is input.right, then we're going to move it to the right by our speed times our delta time. And then if the input.keys is the left arrow, then we're going to do our x minus our speed times our delta time. If our input keys is the up arrow, then we're going to move the spaceship up by our speed. And then the same thing, but in the downward direction. We check for the down arrow and move the y down. Because remember, if you add to the y, it moves the spaceship in the downward direction. And then we have to multiply it by our delta time again. And then we had to add this object to the actual updater. So we say updater dot add this. So that's it for the spaceship class. So if I run the code at this point, you can see we have our spaceship and it moves around. And yeah, that was the goal. So anyway, that's it for this one. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.